This week, moments of victory, conflict, spectacle, reinvention, and preservation unfolded across decades. An underdog stunned a superpower. A photograph came to define a war. More than 100 million people gathered in a single night to say goodbye. Across politics, culture, sport, and landscape, the past left its mark. These are the moments that shaped this week in history. In 1980, at the height of the Cold War, an Olympic hockey game carried far more than a medal. In Lake Placid, New York, a team of American amateurs and college players faced the dominant Soviet Union squad, veterans who had controlled international hockey for more than a decade. The political climate amplified everything. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan had taken place only months earlier. Tensions between the two nations were rising. President Carter would soon announce a boycott of the Moscow Summer Olympics. This game did not exist in isolation. The Americans trailed early but refused to collapse. In the third period, they scored twice to take the lead. With seconds remaining, broadcaster Al Michaels asked, "Do you believe in miracles?" "Yes." The United States won 4-3. It was not the gold medal game, yet for many watching, it felt symbolic, proof that improbable victory was still possible in uncertain times. Victory can lift morale. War leaves deeper imprints. In 1945, U.S. Marines climbed the steep volcanic slopes of Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima. The island held strategic significance. Its airfields were vital for American B-29 bombers conducting missions over Japan. Securing it required sustained and brutal combat. After days of fighting, Marines reached the summit and raised a replacement flag. Below them, Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal lifted his camera. The image he captured showed 6 Marines straining together to raise the flag against a stark sky. It did not show the prolonged battle still unfolding across the island. It did not show the cost. But it conveyed unity and determination with striking clarity. The island would eventually be secured. It would serve the strategic purpose for which it was fought. The photograph, however, traveled farther than the battlefield ever could. It became one of the defining visual records of World War II. Decades later, Americans would engage with the experience of war differently, not through frontline photography, but through character and narrative. By 1983, television had become the nation's collective gathering place. The series was MASH. Set during the Korean War, it followed the doctors and nurses of the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. For 11 seasons, the show blended satire with sorrow. It explored exhaustion, humor, grief, and resilience within the confined space of a military medical unit. Premiering during the Vietnam era, its themes resonated beyond its historical setting. The final episode, titled Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, ran nearly 2.5 hours. At the time, it became the most watched broadcast in American television history. As the final helicopter lifted into the distance, the word goodbye appeared spelled in stones below. It was simple, quiet, final. War had moved from battlefield image to cultural memory, but reinvention was unfolding elsewhere. In 1964, the heavyweight champion of the world changed, and so did his name. Cassius Clay entered the ring in Miami Beach as a challenger to Sonny Liston, the division's dominant force. Most analysts predicted a quick defeat. After 6 rounds, Liston remained seated, citing a left shoulder injury. Clay was declared champion. The upset shocked the boxing world. Days later, Clay announced that he had joined the Nation of Islam and would take a new name, Muhammad Ali. The announcement divided opinion. For some, it was defiance. For others, transformation. In a decade defined by civil rights activism and identity, the moment carried weight beyond sport. A new champion had emerged, and a new public identity had taken shape. Political transformations often unfold less dramatically, but no less consequentially. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln arrived in New York City to address an audience at Cooper Union. He was not yet president. He was not even the party's nominee. What he carried instead was preparation. For weeks, Lincoln had studied the writings of the nation's founders, examining how they had voted and spoken about federal authority in the territories. His argument focused on restricting the expansion of slavery into new Western lands. For nearly 2 hours, he delivered a careful, methodical address, grounded in documented record rather than rhetoric. Newspapers across the country reprinted the speech in full. Printed pamphlets circulated widely. It introduced Lincoln to a national audience as a reasoned and serious political thinker. By the end of that year, he secured the Republican nomination. Within 12 months, he would be elected President of the United States. His rise did not begin with spectacle. It began with argument. Some turning points unfold in halls of debate. Others unfold before cameras. In 1981, Buckingham Palace became the setting for a global announcement. Prince Charles formally declared his engagement to Lady Diana Spencer. As heir to the British throne, the marriage carried constitutional significance. Diana, just 20 years old, stepped into unprecedented global scrutiny. Cameras documented the moment. The sapphire and diamond ring she wore quickly became one of the most recognized pieces of royal jewelry in modern history. Hundreds of millions followed the announcement. The engagement marked the beginning of one of the most examined chapters in contemporary monarchy. Not every lasting moment is born of spectacle. Some are secured quietly and preserved deliberately. Long before speeches or ceremonies, the Colorado River had carved its way through layers of rock over millions of years. By the early 20th century, commercial interests sought mining access within the canyon. In 1903, Theodore Roosevelt stood at its rim and declared, "Leave it as it is. You cannot improve on it." Those words reflected a broader preservation movement. In 1919, President Woodrow Wilson signed legislation establishing Grand Canyon National Park, protecting more than 1 million acres of rugged terrain. The designation ensured that the canyon would remain protected for generations to come. Some moments echo in arenas. Some endure in photographs. Some linger in speeches, names, and ceremonies. And some are carved in stone. Together, they form the historical record.